Hello beautiful creative friends, it's Belinda and I'm here today with my first project for the month for the Confessions of a Paper Addict design team. I'm working with this Stitched Love cut file, which was brand new to the shop this month. If you know me, you know how much I love a stitch element on my layout, so of course this one is absolutely perfect. I just showed you there off camera, I have gone ahead and stitched that one already. I used I think the word is variegated thread. It just had some different tones of pink to stitch around that. And to help me out with the design, I did lay this out in my silhouette design space before I went ahead and cut it, because I had the silhouette cut the actual white cardstock down to size as well. So I had planned on making something like a grid layout. When I started working on it, I realized that because that love element is so large compared to the size of my photos, even though everything was placed symmetrically from top to bottom and from side to side, it just was throwing the balance off. So to compensate for that, in the bottom right hand portion of my grid is where I'm going to add my journaling, and I decided to add it onto a tag. And so I've made this tag the same height as the cut file. It's a little bit narrower than the cut file because it just didn't quite look right when I played around with some sizing, but it's the same height, and you can see that I have already gone ahead and printed my journaling onto some white cardstock, and then I've cut it down into a tag shape using that handy little punch that I have there. I've matted it onto some patterned paper, and then I have added a stitched border around the outside. So I've got this little reinforcer piece here. I've got this die is from a Tim Holtz tag set, and I love the shape of those reinforcers, so I've gone ahead and cut that out of the same pink glitter cardstock that I've used to back the cut file, which I did that off camera as well. And now I'm just going to use my punch to make that into a tag. So the tag is upside down, and the reason I've decided to do that is because that will then allow me to add another bit of twine. I don't actually use twine, I actually use a piece of wool to the bottom, which helps to extend it down just that little bit more and also adds a little bit of extra texture. So when I was working on this, it took me quite a bit of time off camera to figure out how I was going to make it work and how I was going to make it balanced. But in the end, I think that the finished layout really does work quite well, and everything feels quite balanced. So I've gone ahead and I have backed those photos with some patterned paper. The products that I'm using here, I'm using papers from the Hip Kit Club, one of their releases from last year, and the embellishments that I'm using here are from Simple Stories, and it's the Simple Vintage Life in Bloom collection that I'm using. So I'm popping those photos up onto some foam. I just wanted to give those a little bit of dimension. That's really the only, that's as thick as the dimension is going to get on this layout. If you are new here, the foam, that tape that I use is purchased from Bunnings, which is a local hardware store here in Australia. This is actually photo mounting tape. It's really, really strong. It's really, really sticky. I pay a little bit more to get the acid-free version, but even so, it's much cheaper than products that are marketed for scrapbooking. So I'm using my T-square ruler here to make sure that I have things lined up nicely and evenly spaced, because this is a grid-based layout and because things are quite straight edged. It's really important that I do get them lined up well, otherwise it's just going to look odd. For some people that might not be such a big deal, but for me it is a big deal, and it's something that I worry about. So now that I've got all of those elements placed down, I can start getting into some embellishing. This little die cut piece here says Lovely Little Moment, and I'm sort of calling that the title of my page because that's more related to the photos and the story than the little love word. That love I'm sort of treating as more of an embellishment. So I've gone through all of the embellishments that I have from this collection, and I think I have pretty much all of them. I also have them digitally as well because I know I'm going to run out of the florals. I've picked out some pieces so that I can make some layered clusters on against my photos. So I'm just going to add a cluster to the top of that photo on the top right, and then another cluster to the photo at the bottom of the photo on the bottom left of the grid. And I'm making sure that I am repeating the same elements. So in fact, what I've pulled out is everything that I have pulled out, all of these embellishments that I've pulled out that it's not really a tag, it's like a vintage ephemera ticket piece. Everything that I'm using, I'm going to cut in half, and I'm going to repeat the element on in both embellishment clusters. My words are really fumbling today, as you can probably tell. So this piece here is from the sticker book, and it's quite thin. It's probably about it's like a vellum. It's like anything that you get out of sticker books. So to give it a bit more stability, I've just adhered it down onto some white cardstock and trimmed it out with my scissors, and that's just given me the effect of that piece, but it's made it a little bit more stable so that I can use it as a layering element. And I'm showing you the full process here of me creating these clusters just so that you can see how I add some dimension to them. So these little foam dots that I have, they're very, very low profile, and for me they are perfect for building layers in embellishment clusters because I'm trying really hard not to add too much bulk to my layouts these days, because I want to make sure that I can get the most bang for my buck in my albums and get as many layouts in as I can. So I've layered up that ticket vintage ephemera piece, floral, which I've cut in half. I've got that washi tape piece. I've got a couple of stamps, one in an orange and one in a purple. And I'm also adding a little word phrase, a couple of chipboard hearts, and I will also add a butterfly. So the same elements are going to be going on each embellishment cluster. I'm working on this bottom one first, and then I will go in and you will actually see that to help, I have trouble visualizing things upside down. It's something that my husband finds very, very amusing, but just the way that my brain works, I have a really hard time visualizing things when they are upside down. So to help me create the embellishment cluster on the top so that it is similar to the embellishment cluster that's on the bottom, I'm actually going to turn the whole layout upside down so that I can work upside down, and for my mind that just makes it work. That just helps me make it work. So here I go again. I'm adding that vintage ticket piece, tucking it underneath the bottom layer. The florals here that I'm working with, I'm adding the foam just to the pieces that are on the outside, just to give them a little bit of lift off the page. And then I'm going to tuck that in underneath the white photo mat. Sorry, no, I'm not. I'm tucking that one underneath the pink patterned paper, and then this washi strip is going underneath the photo mat. Now that I've got those in place, I'm pretty happy. I can figure out the rest of it the right way up. So that ticket piece, that orange ticket piece, is going underneath the bottom layer, and then the purple, sorry, it's not a ticket, it's a stamp. The purple stamp is going underneath the patterned paper. I've also got this this tag with the date on it, just says May 2019. So I'm tucking that in alongside that photo up the top as well. I've got that little phrase there that says take the photo. This is, I think, the second or third time I've tried to get this onto a layout, and I do manage to just get it on. I think it's going to stay there. And then I'm going to add these chipboard hearts. So I am adding some wet adhesive to the chipboard pieces just because I know that they have a tendency to come off over time and fall off layouts and fall down into the bottom of the page protector. So I'm adding a little bit of wet adhesive, which you can't see because it's off camera, and that's just going to help things to stay in place long term. With the butterflies, you can see I'm adding just a little bit of foam tape to the outside to their wings, and then some wet adhesive to the body, and that just helps to give those butterflies movement when they're stuck down on the page. So to finish this off, I'm going to add another couple of little embellishment pieces to the side of that lovely little moment die cut, and that's bringing in the similar elements that are in each of the embellishment clusters. Off camera, I am going to finish off with some clear Nuvo drops just to add a really subtle sprinkling finish, and that will be it. I do have some close-up photos coming in just a moment, and I hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you have, I would love for you to leave me a comment or give me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and join me on my upcoming paper crafting adventures. I will leave it there for now and say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.